I'm Slimmy V, and I'm making uncomfortable conversations comfortable. Welcome to the most offensive podcast ever. Today, I'm going to be talking about a tale of two protests. That's right, a tale of two protests. At first, we have the stay-at-home order protest that happened about a month ago, or 3 weeks to a month ago. Okay, so why were they out there? Why were they protesting? Well, I got a list right here, and I'm gonna let you know. Americans were being fined for not wearing masks. Okay, a lot of blacks were being fined. We were being fined for having church services. They were getting fined for $1,000. Some church, I think even a pastor got jailed for doing so, and he did things according to CDC guidelines before the guidelines. Okay, so he had everything from sanitizer, mask, glove. The church and the whole place was sanitized. He separated and had families sat together, and they were practicing social distancing. Okay, still got jailed. You couldn't visit your sick relatives, family members. Many family members, grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, had passed away by themselves in the hospital because of the social distance order. You could not really go there. Okay, they could not even have proper funerals for their family and loved ones. Okay, if you did have a funeral, you were in and out. You were not gathering with loved ones, crying and hugging and anything like that. You were in and out. You could not even have a proper graduation. Okay, you basically came in, graduated, all right, get back in the car and go home. There was no gatherings afterwards or anything like that. You could not have weddings. The lines at the stores were too long. Even when you know what you wanted to get and you was wearing a mask, you still had to wait on that long line. I personally went to Staples to get ink and I had to wait about 2-3 hours, even though I knew exactly what I wanted. I had my mask, I had my gloves, I was ready. 2 to 3 hours just for one item. This is a list of why they were marching. A lot of these things were infringing on our rights. Started to kind of get a little bit too much. Okay, price gouging. A small bottle of sanitizer was like $10. Food, the prices went up. People were complaining. It was ridiculous. You didn't even know what you spent that $100 for. And this is the list of why they were out there marching. Okay, they were releasing criminals from jails, thugs, punks, people had to have been in there. Maybe it was like low level, mid level crimes or whatever, but they still was letting them out. They was letting it out, and at the same time, locking people up for not practicing social distancing, as they were caught out in the street without a mask on, which happened to mostly black folks. They were out there marching for that. Okay, backyards gatherings was broken up. Small businesses lost money. Many of them went bankrupt. Okay, unemployment skyrocketed. Suicides as a result started to go up. Doctors and nurses have been reported to commit suicide because of the things that they were seeing. It was a little bit too much. We've only have gotten $1,200. People were unable to pay their bills. People was unable to buy food for their children. People were unable to pay their rent, mortgage, or anything like that because they were not being supplied enough with another stimulus package. So you understand the first protest. They protested all of this. Here's a thing that happened to the first group that protested, which was, by the way, peaceful, and it was by the thousands. They were met with backlash, mostly from the left-wing news media. You could check it out yourself. They were mostly met, that backlash came from left-wing media. What were they saying? This is what they were saying, okay? You don't care about the nurses and the doctors and what they facing. You don't care about the human beings. Oh, don't you forget blacks are affected 2 to 3 times more than the whites. Why are you out there protesting and gathering? Is it because you want to kill off the blacks? These are the type of things that was in the media, social media, people who were against the first protest. You've had sayings like, oh, you're selfish. You only care about yourself. You don't care about your fellow neighbors. You can get infected with these large protest gatherings and bring something back to your grandma or your kids. Don't you care about them? Stop this protest now immediately. Don't you remember this one? We have a second wave coming, which could be maybe about August or September. How they know this? I guess they look back at the Spanish flu, and the Spanish flu came in two waves. The first one, many died. The second one came even stronger and was more brutal. They said, oh, they're not listening to that. Look, they don't care about the second wave. They should stop this immediately. Okay. All you care about is the economy. These are the type of things that was being said about the first protests. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is grand. They said things like, if you're out there and protesting, you should sign a waiver in case you get the virus that you are not to get care because you bought this on your own. That was ridiculous, right? Here's another one. I mean, I could go on and on, but I'm gonna give you one last one. Oh, this looked like a KKK Klans rally. Like, really? And it was, for the most part, 95%. I don't really remember any violence that occurred there, but for the most part, it was really very peaceful. I don't think that people should complain about that. That was really peaceful, you know. And not only that, many blacks was actually for the first protest. You know, it was open to blacks, gays, lesbians, whatever race, national, creed, gender, sex that you were inclusively invited to come and protest with them against these rules that infringe on your amendment rights. Okay, because you do have a right to protest against something you feel is really taking control over your life. Okay, you had a curfew. You could not go. You could not leave the house unless you were an essential worker. Okay, so now remember, this is a tale of two protests. Now here's the second protest, which was the protest against police brutality and injustices against blacks. Okay, they have a right to protest. Here's what the news media were saying about them, and it was in a way sort of kind of opposite of what the left-wing media was saying about the first protest. Here's what they were saying about the second protest. Oh, let them, they're exercising their rights to free speech. They have had enough. Blacks are done dying. They are pissed off with all these white cops, white racist cops against blacks. So, in other words, now, according to the left-wing media, that rage is justified. They even use a famous Martin Luther King line, rioters and looters. Okay, when people go out there and they just really go crazy, start breaking things, setting things on fire, police cars on fire, burning down buildings, ganging and going inside police departments. What else were they doing? Some were fighting each other. Some was fighting police officers. I mean, it was mayhem, right? And they said, no. That's okay. Because they are violence, rioters and looters, and this violence that's going on is the voice of the unheard. So in this way, whatever is going on is actually justified. But then when they find out that it was someone racist that committed this crime, they would point the other way and say, see, that wasn't us. But at the same time, it's justified in saying, well, all this that's going on, the chaos that's happening, is the voice of the unheard. They have a right to do this. Now it's okay. right? And if you go back to the list that I had given you, okay, the backlash against the stay home order, they didn't receive the same backlash. It was the total opposite. No one was saying things like, oh, you don't care about nurses and doctors, even as they were in groups. No one was saying things like, oh, you're selfish because, just remember, we still at the stay home order. We still in this pandemic. Mind you, all that was thrown at the window for this protest. Okay? They wasn't saying things like, oh my gosh, when you gather, you can get infected or whatever. The left-wing media was mostly pro this protest and against the other protests, even though you are allowed to go and protest. Okay? It is your right. It is your privilege to go out there. Okay? The right-wing media was for this protest. They just wasn't for the rioting and the looting, but the backlash against them saying, oh, look at all the looting, look at all the rioting, they came with that Martin Luther King quote, the voice of the unheard. They're going to trash, loot, riot, set things on fire, and everything like that. Okay? So that's what they came up with, and this is what I'm pointing out. Listen, you want to protest injustice, okay, as with, that's what was the second protest. You want to protest stay-at-home orders because businesses was being shut down. There's no way some of these businesses have lost already and are unable to even open again. It's done, it's finished, it's over. People are in tears. They don't know how they are going to get that money to pay for this. You're entitled to protest. Do it in a peaceful manner. But then when you got the news and the media being biased and creating this political climate, because this, the second protest, now goes in favor of the left-wing Democratic Party. The Republicans have nothing to do with the killing of George Floyd. If you choose to not kneel for the flag, that does not mean that you don't care about black lives. We gotta stop this. Stop forcing people to do certain things. Some people just don't want to do it. They don't want to follow the mob. They just don't want to do it. Like, yo, let them do what they have to do. Okay? I'm gonna make another video about something else, about the whole kneeling thing. Okay? And I want to tell you, stop calling these people who do not want to kneel racist. Stop forcing white people to bow down and just say, oh my gosh, I got white privilege. I'm sorry that I've been racist to you all this time. Like, I'm going to do a video about that. I'm going to stop it right there. I want you to watch my other videos. I want you to watch this. And I want you to comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what I said that was wrong. I've mostly just stated fact and what was going on out there. Me, personally, I'm for both protests. You are entitled to protest peacefully. Peacefully means you gather together, you voice your disagreements, you voice whatever without blocking streets. It's actually, you cannot really block the streets. You could voice your opinion. And greatest thing of all, you could voice your opinion in the ballots. Okay? Vote in every election. Not just the one in November. All right? Well, that's the video. I'm going to stop it right there. All right? I'm going to stop it right there. I promise. Okay? I'm Slimmy V. This is the most offensive podcast ever. If you're not offended, you're not listening. God bless, stress less, and let Yahweh give you rest. I'm out. Peace.